Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be making a tutorial on something that I don't think I've seen any other tutorial on. What I'm referring to here is moving sounds. I will be covering a strategy to accomplish this in vanilla Minecraft and guiding you step by step through this tedious yet ultimately rewarding process. Once the first steps are made, adding more of these moving sounds will become way easier in the future. Firstly, I want to point out how some sounds are hard-coded to move with entities. These include minecart sounds, elytra sounds, etc. However, these sounds are limited and only played under certain circumstances. This tutorial will add completely new sounds and is fully customizable. This will be done with the use of a texture pack and a data pack, so it works fully within vanilla. Now, I think it's time I reveal this technique. Essentially, the sound file in the texture pack is split up into small intervals and played in succession at the position of the entity, iterating through each file with a scoreboard and playing it using the data pack. To split the sound, I recommend you use the free audio software Audacity to do this, and this is what I'll be using in this video. Additionally, if you want to make your life easier with registering all the sound files in the texture pack, you will need any kind of Python interpreter, and I will leave all the code used to generate the lines of registering code you need in the description for you to copy. I also highly recommend using Visual Studio Code for the resource pack and data pack, however, this is not necessary. So, without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Firstly, open up your sound within Audacity. You can do this by either opening with or just importing it straight into Audacity. And I just have the Grumble laughing doors. And now when you import it, you want to select it, go down here and make sure that you have anything regarding length here in the settings button selected. And then you want to have a look at the length. You can see this one is 19 seconds. And then we want to select tools, regular interval labels like that. You want to make sure create labels based on is on number and interval. The number of labels we will get to in a second. Label interval, I will set this to 1. However, you can set to another number. The smaller the number is, the more accurately it will track. However, it will create more sound files. So just keep that in mind. Now for the number of labels, this is essentially to do with how long the track is as well as the label interval. So if I have a label interval of 1 second, then this will just be 19 labels to span the 19 seconds of this track. However, if this was something like 0.5, then you'd want 38 labels because twice as many since the intervals are shorter. However, I'm just going to keep this at 1 and this at 19. If you want to make it loop perfectly, then you can adjust the label interval to fit length, set that to yes. This will make it so that it will expand or contract to fit exactly to the clip length. However, if your clip is pretty close to where your interval would match up, then I wouldn't really do that. So I'm just going to keep that as no. Label text, I'm just going to name it Grumble Laugh. The minimum number of digits in the label you want to set to 1 after label, and begin numbering from 1. After you've done all this and it looks all correct, then hit apply. And it will say 19 point labels at intervals of 1 second, or however many that you have for each. And there we go. It creates a label track here with all of our different named labels. And just before we export here, I want to clip it down to just exactly 19 seconds. So I'll just go to 19 seconds there, and I'll extend that back. So now this track is 19 seconds. Yep, we will go Control Shift and E, or you could go export audio like that. And then you want to choose where you want your files to be exported to. Okay, so I have selected a file location. And then something very important, in channels under audio options, you want to set this to mono. This will allow Minecraft to make the surround sound. And then in the export range, you want to click multiple files, split the files based on labels, and then name the files using the label or track name. And then if all of this is done, then you can simply click export. And this will create all of your sound files. As you can see, they're all named correctly and they all have the correct numbering. And that is essentially it. Next, you want to use the Python script in the description and run it with any Python IDE of your choosing. For this, I'm just using PyCharm, but you can use whatever. Basically, this script will generate all of the JSON data to register the custom sounds. Firstly, run the program, and then enter the file path of your sound. On the end, include the name of the sound without the numbering. So for me, that is tutorial/grumble_laugh. And if you hit enter, then it will ask for the number of split files. This is basically how many labels you created. So for me, this is 19. Hit enter again. And for the sound category, I'm just going to do hostile. And pressing enter one more time will generate all of this text, which you can simply copy and paste into the sounds.json file in your texture pack. So I'm over here in Visual Studio Code, and I simply just want to paste. If this is at the end of your file or it's empty, then just remove that last comma there, and that is all of that done. So that's all you need for the sounds.json file. Okay, so now in the Datapack, I've already got a tick function, just a main one. However, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm just going to call this grumble, and then I'm going to create another tick function in here, and also a function called play grumble laugh. And now in the main tick function, we want to call the grumble tick function, and I will simply call it as an armor stand with the tag of grumble. However, remember, this can be any entity, any tag, anything you want. And I will simply run function moving sounds grumble/tick, and this will run the tick function as this armor stand. Now in the tick function, firstly we want to add a sound timer score, which will increment every tick. So we will go scoreboard players add @s. I'll just call it sound timer, and we will add that in game, and we will add 1 to it. And then we want to store a sound file number into a storage, which we can use as a macro in this play sound function here. So what we will do is we will go execute if score @s sound timer matches 20 or more. And what I'm doing here is I'm checking if this sound timer is equals or is above 20. There's 20 ticks in a second in Minecraft, so I need to check if it has surpassed or equals 1 second, because that is the length of my intervals. However, this can change if you have something like half a second. This would be 10, and so on. And then we will store the result in a storage called moving sounds, and I will just call it grumble. And the reason why I'm storing a score in a storage is because macros are unable to take scores as a parameter, so we need to put it into a storage first, as it is able to take a storage, but just not a score. And I will store this into laugh sound number int1, and then we will run scoreboard players add @s, and then we will have a new scoreboard, and this scoreboard will be called laugh sound number, like that, and then we will add 1. So what this will do is every time an interval is completed, so every 1 second in my case, it will increment the laugh sound number by 1 and store it into the moving sounds grumble storage at the path of laugh sound number. And now we can pass that into a function. So we can go execute if score @s sound timer matches 20 or more. So this will again check for the end of that interval. We want to go at s to run as the entity, and we'll go run function, and then we will do the play grumble laugh. But instead of ending it just like that, we want to do with storage moving sounds grumble, and that will run it with a macro, and we can take values from this moving sounds grumble storage and use it within the function. So we can take this laugh sound number, and then before we move on to the play laugh, grumble laugh function, we want to do some resetting at the end. So we want to execute if score at s sound timer matches 20 or more. Then we want to run scoreboard players set at s sound timer 0. So that will simply reset it every interval back to 0, so we can keep iterating. And then execute if score at s, and we want to do laugh sound number. And now for here, we want to give how many sound files or labels you created. And for me, I had 19, because 1 second intervals in 19 seconds of the track. So that is 19 sound files. We'll check if it exceeds, just in case. And then we will run scoreboard players set at s laugh sound number to 0, like that. And now we are done in this tick function, and we can move on to the play grumble laugh function. And here we will put a $sign to make this a macro command, and then we will do play sound, and we will go tutorial dot grumble laugh, because that is the name of our label and the file path it's at. And then we will go $sign to make a macro parameter, and also opening and closing parentheses. And then we need to put the same name for the moving sounds grumble storage into these parentheses, like that, laugh sound number, and that will get that value and substitute it into the command. And then we will just run it with hostile sound category all players. And that's it for this, and we are ready to test in game. Okay, so I'm in game now, and the first thing we need to do is add the scores. So we'll just go scoreboard objectives add sound timer, and we'll make that a dummy. And then we will also add one called laugh sound number, make that a dummy. And now we can summon the armor stand, and we can give it a tag of grumble. Okay, so you can hear that it is looping perfectly, and it sounds really good, but it's not very impressive right now because it's not moving. So then I'll just place a command block that will make it teleport towards me. So we'll just go execute as at e type equals armor stand tag equals grumble at s run tp at s 0.5 blocks ahead facing entity at p. There we go. And we will just do that. Now it's following me, and you can see that it is following the entity. High volumes make it more convincing because it doesn't cut out all the time, but if you really need it to be a quiet volume, you can always just make the intervals more accurate to make sure it doesn't cut out all the time. But yeah, that's basically the end of the tutorial. You can hear it's tracking the armor stand, and of course this can be any entity you want. But yeah, that is it for this tutorial, and of course you can easily add more sounds now that you know the process, and you can copy and modify code and use the same Python script and everything. So yeah, it's pretty easy to add more. The method itself is sort of difficult in general, but to be honest, it's worth it. So thank you for watching. I guess I hope you learned something. I hope you will be able to use this in any of your projects, and thank you for watching. I will see you in another video. See ya.